Thank you for joining us today. First, let's review what is an arrow and what do arrows mean to me. So an arrow is an activity that tracks time associated to the work that you're doing, and it provides resources so that you or your staff can complete the work properly, consistently, and efficiently. So Aero Workflow app allows accounting firms to manage all of their client work that's scheduled for their staff so that the firm can successfully manage their business. Let's think about an accounting firm. So as accounting firms, we provide services for our clients, right? Such as paying bills, for example. These services are a series of different tasks, and they're often performed by different staff. So with the example paying bills, you can imagine the AP clerk enters the bill. Maybe they're using bill.com. The controller may be the one in the firm that pays the bills. You may have a GL clerk who syncs bill.com to QBO and works on the integration between the apps. And you probably provide maybe more than one service to that client. Maybe you do more than pay bills. Maybe you also do their payroll. And if you're doing their payroll, you might have a bunch of steps there. You might have to verify the approved hours and T-sheets and prepare the paychecks, remit payroll taxes, file forms, all the different work, and often on different days, may be performed by different staff. And you may provide all sorts of other accounting services in addition for that client. In addition to paying their bills and doing payroll, you might also do their month-end close, reconciliations, maybe some budgeting and planning. And then, so on top of that, imagine that the accounting firm has more than one client, right? So you can quickly see that this can be a recipe for chaos if we don't keep it all organized. And any of you running and managing accounting firms know this feeling firsthand. So how do staff know what clients to work on today and which tasks to work on first? What's their top priority, right? And when they do get to work, do they have everything they need? Do they have that password they need to get into the bank account? It's so that they can work efficiently. So here we have on screen Aero's Manage Dashboard screen. When you have all of your work scheduled for your staff in Aero, you've entered all their work, you have this great bird's eye view of your firm's operations. And from here, I can drill into different areas. I can go look at what work is overdue, what's in progress, how many AP tasks are due right now, and who's working on them. Lots of different things, and we can dive into this screen in the future. But let's look at what it looks like when you have all of your arrows set up. I'm going to navigate now to the Manage Arrows screen. So today what we want to explore is how do we get to this? How do we get everything that's in our head about how to do our tasks, everything that we've written on sticky notes, everything that we've written on spreadsheets, how do we get all of this into Aero so that we have this bird's eye view? And from there, we are better able to manage everything, right? So how can I schedule the work? How can I include all the resources my staff will need to do the task, specifically exactly how it should be done, and then have all that information at my fingertips next time I need to schedule, for example, paying the bills for a client. So again, this is the overview of what we want to get to, right? This is our bird's eye view. You saw the Manage Dashboard screen. You can also see here is the list of all the work that's done. On this screen, I can look at all of my work by user, right? What's Bobby doing? What's Lucy doing? How many hours are they scheduled? Or I could look at it by company. How much work do I have for this company versus that one? So today we're going to talk about how do we get this? And that brings me to Aero templates. Aero templates are one of the most powerful features in Aero Workflow app. Of course, you can create an Aero and type in the step-by-step instructions, and maybe you'll do that for some one-time work. And to do that, this is not where we're going today, but just to show you, you can come quickly here and just add an Aero. These are very similar. When you start a type of Aero here, this just means the timer is going to start with you right away recording your time. If you're setting up an Aero for later, you just use one of these add ones. So of course you can do that, right? You can come in here and type in all the steps and everything about an Aero, about some work that needs to be done. But today, we're going to look at the more powerful option, which is using Aero templates. And that allows you to go easily grab and assign work and all the defined steps about it, easily assign it to staff and a client. And that may be for a one-time job you're doing or for some recurring work. So let's look at how to do this. First of all, if you do something for one client and you create an Aero for it already, and then it turns out that you want to do it again, the first thing to know is that you can grab an Aero that you've already created and turn it into an Aero template. So let me show you that first of all, right? So I'm just going to grab any Aero right here. Okay, so when I come into any Aero, so pretend like you've already set this up. Somebody has either completed the task already or they're still working on whatever. You've already set up some project and you find out your client asks you, hey, can you do it again? Well, absolutely. You can come in here and grab the Aero that you had already and just make it into a template. So that's one way to do it. You can change some of the information once you make it a template. Okay, so keep that in mind. If you've already set something up, turn it into a template. The other way to do it is to come to the Manage menu and go to Aero Templates. Once you get here, you can see the list of templates and you can create a brand new one. And this is going to give you a blank screen to create a template. I'm just going to jump into one that's already done so that you can see the same thing. This is the edit view on a template, but it's filled out with some information already. So I just want to give you a brief overview of the screen. The red asterisks are showing you the fields that are required. The rest of them are optional. You can fill in as much or as little as you'd like there. Then you can scroll down and define all of the steps you need to do. So imagine your recurring services that you offer to more than one client. Like you may do payroll as one of your main services on your menu of services. And you want to set up how you generally do that for your firm. And this is where you would do that. When you're finished filling in the information about how to do that and all your step-by-step instructions, then you can save and close, and we'll be back out here at your list of templates. So this allows you to very quickly create a one-time Aero or a master Aero if you want to set it with a recurring schedule. So if you're going to do it one time, you would come here to add the Aero, and if you're going to do it recurring, you'd add a master Aero. So just to review, the Aero templates are the where you set up what the steps are for any client in the future. This is something you do that's probably on your menu of services, and you want to be able to come grab it and assign it as either a one-time or recurring master Aero in the future. So let's pretend that situation has occurred. You've got a new client and they've asked you to pay bills for them, and you have a template already set for how you do that. So you would come here to your template list and you would find the template that you want, and you would click the button to add a master Aero. So let's do that. This is going to copy the header information in that you had set up in the template, and here we may assign it to whatever person we want to do it. It's going to default to the user logged in, and then you pick which company you want to do that for. Let's do it for Cherries Express. You can fill in some more information about it and then click Save and Edit. At this point, you've pulled the template into a master Aero, and you can now make changes to it, to any of this information and on this next screen that's pertinent to the client that you're now setting this up for. Again, all of the information from the template has copied over to the master, and to clarify, a master Aero is different than a template. It is different than an Aero. A master Aero is that parent that creates all of the recurring, if you will, baby Aeros underneath it. So a master Aero gives you the option to schedule recurring individual Aeros with all of the information contained in the master. The individual Aeros that are related to a master, you know, the baby Aeros, are what shows up on your staff's to-do list. So when you create a master arrow from a template, all of that information copied in, all of the steps copied in, you don't have to write that again. Now you can assign it to the appropriate client like we did, to the appropriate staff person, review all the steps. You may find, oh, you know, this doesn't really apply to that client. You might want to delete a step. You might want to add a new step. You can change the order of the steps. You know, think about it, what's appropriate for this particular situation. And then when you're ready, you can set the occurrences. I'm going to click the occurrence options button, and it gives me this section here. Let's say we're going to do it weekly, and I'm going to start doing that as of today. And I might schedule it through the end of the year, and say I'm going to do it on Mondays. I insert those occurrences, and it's going to create those arrows that will show up on your staff's Aero work list on each of these scheduled days. And then you're done. You save and close. And guess what? If you come back to update this master in the future, maybe you need to add a step or delete a step or add a web link on a step or change something up in the header. Maybe you want to reassign it to one of your other staff people. Whatever it is, any changes that you make to the master will update to all of the associated baby arrows that have not yet been changed. Let me jump into that master arrow that we just made. Let's go into it now. Now we're looking at the master arrow. Remember, we're no longer on the templates. We're looking at this master that we set up to do this recurring work for this client. I just want to point out to you that you can come over here and see what days are these scheduled. You might want to come and change one time one of these. Maybe Robert's going to be out and you want to reassign these to someone else. But I want to point out this column here while we're talking about it. This shows if the arrow has ever changed. Once it's changed, any updates you make to the master will not apply to changed ones, but all the other ones in the future that have not changed, then any changes you make will push over to those. Just something to keep in mind. So if you've got a staff person that's already started working on theirs, their arrow will show as changed, and you won't mess with what they're doing. But all the ones in the future that have not changed, those will all get your updates. Now let's jump over. You've set up a template, you've pulled it into a master arrow, and you've scheduled it for a certain person to do. Let's just go look at what your staff see. I'm going to come over here to the work menu and go to My Arrows. Another way to quickly do that, just a little tip, is if you hit the arrow logo, you go right over here to the same thing, your My Arrows list. And let's go do that pay bills. Let's do a pay bills. That's one we just saw. So I'm going to go accept this arrow, and let's just look at some of the hallmarks about Aero. The arrows inside this workflow app provide that structure for your staff that allows your firm to systemize its services, right? Each staff has their list of work they need to do for the day, and when they accept it, they come in here and they get their resources so they can get the work done right away. They've got their step-by-step instructions. Remember when we just saw it in both the template and then when we pulled it into the master and scheduled it for a particular client? Remember we saw the steps at the bottom, and those were in edit mode. You could type in those and change them. This is what it looks like when your staff see it. They can see their steps here, and as they check each one off, now it looks like Robert had already been working on some of this. He's already done some of this work, maybe earlier this morning or yesterday, whenever. He had already done some of it. So as I continue, now he knows right where he left off. He can keep working on it as he checks each one off. All of those notes are being pushed down into the time notes. This pushes into time tracking in QBO. You also have a section over here to put internal notes if you have something you want to say about this task, to either remind yourself for when you come in next time, or some notes that you don't want to be pulled onto an invoice. These comments over here are your internal notes. We also have on each step, we have our links to the procedure guide. I'm going to click that, and the procedure guide for the pay bills task comes up, and I can see screenshots and more detailed notes about how we pay bills. Or this may be a procedure guide about a particular client of yours, how you invoice their customers. I mean, that's certainly the type of work that can be very different from one client to another. And sometimes, you know, maybe Robert doesn't usually work on this client and he's covering for somebody who's out on vacation this week. Or maybe Robert's a new staff person and he, sometimes is really still leaning on these notes. So here's your procedure guide, one click away. We've also got all sorts of other links that are going to take us to bill.com, in QuickBooks Online, any of these links. You might take them to the bank account to get the bank statement if that's what the step, that particular step is about. Sometimes you may have to go submit a 401k contribution and you need that financial institution's link. All these kind of things, links, these resources you can give to your staff are so helpful when they're right here on the particular line item that they're working on. You can also give links to external help site. If it's a help site that's already available out on Intuit's site, maybe you give them the link right there. And maybe your standard operating procedures are all about custom things that you want to write that are not out on external sites already. And now I'm going to scroll down a little bit and show you that we have some more resources down here. So we've got all of this at your staff person's fingertips. They have company information. Maybe you need the company's address and what kind of software they're using. We've got other arrows that have to do with this company. This is all the other work that is assigned to maybe different staff, work that's been completed, notes about emails that have been received or sent from this having to do with this client. So that's a very important resource because when you're working with a team, it lets all of you be able to sort of collaborate on this client and know who's been doing what with the client. And so you can find that information here in Company Aeros. And then you've got your contacts, of course, for this company. You might have this client's legal team or the managers or insurance agents, who knows, any contacts that you want your team to be able to access to communicate with, you can put here. We've also got other time, all of the time that Robert, let me scroll up and show you, I'm logged in as the staff person Robert, so any time that any staff, not just Robert, that any staff has logged on this particular arrow. So if I reassign this particular arrow to someone partway through, it'll show any time they mark on it also. So you can come see, why is this one taking so long? And you can see all the notes from what everyone's done on it so far. And then, of course, we've got the vault. Very, very important resource here. This is where you can put all of your usernames and passwords and security questions and answers. You can add new records here, modify them, and I can put in like the banking info, their username here, and this, anything you put in this column here, this password, is going to be secured, and you can change the security level. You can put the link to the website here, you save those changes, and assign different security levels. There are multiple security levels in Aeros so that you can differentiate between the different types of staff you have, anyone from an intern to a staff accountant to management to your principals. So lots to work with there on security. You might want to record more than passwords here. You can put the tax ID number of this client, their capitalization threshold, their bank account routing number. All of that information is found here. So lastly, before we go, I just want to point out that notice that when we, Robert, when we clicked on and accepted this arrow, this task, the timer started automatically. It's already running for you. It is taking a snapshot behind the scenes. So if your browser crashes or goes down, it's going to remember within at least 60 seconds. It's going to put you back to that. It will remember it. And then when you are ready to save and complete or save and defer, you just do that. Let's defer it since we're not finished with all of our steps. I can put a reason. And then defer, and we're back at our list to get the rest of our work done. Okay, everybody, that's what we wanted to show today. It's so very important to running the accounting firm is not just giving your staff the work they need to do and not just watching it. Those are very key elements, but how do I get those in? And that's what we wanted to show you today is the ability to create these templates. and set up your menu of services. This is how we do things here in this firm. Set those up as templates and then pull them into Aeros or Master Aeros. Master Aeros, of course, is if you're going to set them for recurring. And that allows you to very quickly get that work scheduled on your staff's Aero lists so that they can start getting it done and billing. Thank you very much to everyone for attending today.